Welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great night. In today's episode, we have a jam-packed show. I keep saying it's the dog days of off season, and there's probably not going to be a lot of things to talk about. But look at this. I got 4 topics for today, you guys. So it's going to be a fun episode. So let's go over it real quick. The little show rundown. NBA Power Rankings. There was an athletic article that was published earlier this week ranking all 30 NBA teams, kind of an off-season power ranking. We'll be going over the list 1 through 30 and seeing where the Detroit Pistons were ranked in this power ranking. Duncan Robinson on the Pistons, he was on a podcast that did get published today from Young Man in the Three. He talked about what excites him playing with the Detroit Pistons this upcoming season, so we'll be going over that. Asar Thompson has been a very busy guy this summer. First, we had the Slam magazine cover this week. Nike commercial now, man. Like, let's with these Pistons, man. It's getting in, like, Slam magazine covers, commercials. Like, I'm telling you, Kate Cunningham's probably going to be the next State Farm athlete. I'm just calling it now. I could totally see Kate being a State Farm athlete. Watch it actually happen. And we'll come back to this and laugh. And finally, we're going to end the podcast kind of just catching up with some transactions from the Pistons. They did move on from one of their two-way guys, and I'll kind of break down what this could possibly mean for current two-way contracts. Donis Jenkins, Tolu Smith. So let's get into today's episode, you guys. So let's start with this athletic power rankings, off-season power rankings list. I'm going to put it on the screen. So we're going to be going over 1 through 30. I'm just going to be doing this for the audio side. If you guys are watching live on YouTube, just understand that there are some people that watch this podcast that just listen to the audio side, whether they're on their way to work, road trip, whatever it may be. It is summer. Maybe you're listening to me on the way up north or something like that. I doubt you guys are, but hey, you never know. So updated power rankings from the Athletic from La Murray. So number 1 shouldn't come as a surprise. The Oklahoma City Thunder. Number 2, the New York Knicks. Number 3, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Number 4, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Number 5, the Denver Nuggets. Number 6, the Houston Rockets. Number 7, the Los Angeles Clippers. Number 8, the Orlando Magic. Number 9, the Golden State Warriors. Number 10, the Detroit Pistons. Number 11, the Los Angeles Lakers. 12, Milwaukee Bucks. 13, Atlanta Hawks. 14, Memphis Grizzlies. 15, Indiana Pacers. 16, Boston Celtics. 17, Philadelphia 76ers. 18, Miami Heat. 19, Dallas Mavericks. 20, San Antonio Spurs. 21, Sacramento Kings. 22, Chicago Bulls. 23, Toronto Raptors. 24, Portland Trailblazers. 25, Phoenix Suns. 26, the New Orleans Pelicans. 27, Charlotte Hornets. 28, Utah Jazz. 29, Washington Wizards. And last but not least, number 30, the Brooklyn Nets. So let's look at the top 10. So you have the Pistons at number 10. They're up 2 spots in this power ranking. Teams above them, the Golden State Warriors, the Orlando Magic. Okay. I could maybe understand Orlando, you guys. I don't know if I could really understand the Golden State Warriors. Now, this is an off-season power ranking. This has nothing to do with kind of like what they did, last year. It's mostly just an off-season preview of what the Athletic has all NBA teams ranked right now. Pistons cracked the top 10. I'm really happy. I think you can make an argument they could be right there with Orlando. Maybe they're 9, maybe they're 7. I happen to think that the Clippers actually had a really good offseason, even though they signed a lot of guys that are really old. Really like the trade for John Collins with them, getting Brad Beal, Chris Paul. I heard someone call them the Unction because they have a very old team, a lot of veterans on that team. But I think you can make a case that the Pistons could maybe go up a couple spots in this power ranking. But hey, man, last year when we're doing like power ranking. We're reacting to power rankings, whether it was from the Athletic, NBA, Bleacher Report. Like Pistons were like 25, 26, 27. We're top 10, baby. Like things have changed dramatically in this season. From going to a 14-win season, going into last summer to a 44-win season, being a 6 seed in the East, taking the Knicks to 6 games. It's so crazy how 1 year can change so much perception around the league nationally. And I honestly think when the Pistons are good, it's good for the NBA. Um, I'll tell you guys this. Like, I think Pistons fans are some of the most passionate fans that I've ever come across. Just Detroit sports fans, for that matter, like Red Wings, Tigers, which they got to kind of get their shit together. I don't know what's going on with the Tigers right now. Some like voodoo magic. Lions, like just some die-hard Detroit sports fans, and I think as a city and as a state of Michigan, we have some of the best fans in the world, in my opinion. That's why I love living here. That's why I've decided to stay in Michigan. I've had multiple chances to move out of the state and do opportunities elsewhere in sports media, but I've decided to stay here because I just love it so much. But it's really cool to see that the Pistons were in the top 10 in a national ranking from the Athletic. So sure you guys will have a lot of thoughts and opinions on that power ranking. Again, if you guys want to go check that out, I did post it on my Twitter. If you want to read the article, you will need a subscription from the Athletic to kind of read more in depth of why the Detroit Pistons were maybe a 10, or maybe there's some teams out there that you think this should have cracked the top 10. So if you guys want to go check that out, definitely do. Want to kind of transition over to Duncan Robinson. Now, he had a quote, and this is a video, and obviously I'd like to play the video on YouTube for you guys, but there are a lot of restrictions with posting other people's content, and I don't want to get in trouble. So we took a screenshot of a quote, and we'll go over the quote. And this is Duncan Robinson on what excites him about being on the Detroit Pistons. So here's the quote. It says, "There's a lot to be excited about. It's such a young group. There's 22, 23, 24 real guys that are all really at that core of it. Obviously, Tobias is a big piece as well, and he's over 30 like myself. But a majority of those guys are in their low to mid 20s. I think right from the jump, just the energy and the youthless exuberance they have, seeing the way they interact and treat each other reminds me a lot of a college group in a way which I think it's hard to find in an NBA setting." So there's a lot to kind of dissect with this quote from Duncan Robinson. I think the first thing that I do want to kind of, focus on is him kind of saying like the energy and just the youthful exuberance. I mean, we saw a lot of that. Like, not even they didn't even play a basketball game. It was media day. If you guys remember um the media day picture with like Stu, Paul Reed, Sasser, Beasley, like the vibes really felt different at media day. Duncan was with the Pistons in summer league all last 2 weeks, and they had kind of like mini camps out there, got to know each other, play some pickup, work on their game. And in his, short time, just got traded to the Pistons. Uh, he definitely felt the culture that JB Bickerstaff uh, has instilled into this locker room, and just how it's a really tight, connected group, and it feels like kind of like a college setting. Like if you guys have played sports at any level, whether it was in middle school, high school, college, or some sort of professional sport, when you have a good team, the chemistry is good, and you guys all get along. I've been on teams where we've won a lot of games and we all got along. I've also been on teams where we weren't really good, no one really liked each other, and we just showed up and we went home and we didn't talk to each other. I think the Pistons have the type of chemistry in the locker room where they like each other and they like playing basketball. And after they're done playing basketball, they're like, yo, want a game after? Like, what's your gamer tag? Like, that's the type of like chemistry and culture that JB has kind of instilled into this Detroit Pistons locker room that, these guys spend a lot of time with each other. And I think it's really cool to hear from Duncan Robinson that the togetherness that this team has. And you saw it out at Summer League. Like you saw all of them, supporting the Summer League team out there. I believe Karis LeVert was the only one that out there. And obviously maybe he had a family vacation or something like that. But like you saw Duncan out there, Tobias, Stu with his baby. Like you just see them support each other, show out for each other. And I think that's really cool. It's really nice to hear that, Duncan, who just got here, could kind of feel that energy and the vibe with this basketball team. And I think it will translate to more wins, you guys. I really do. If you get along with your teammates on the court and off the court, there's a good chance that you're going to be very successful in the NBA. Like, I'm just going to bring up this team, and I'm not comparing them, but like you hear stories from the Go in the Work Pistons. Like you see Rasheed Wallace on podcasts talk about how, you know, the Pistons used to, go out to bars and go out to clubs. They'd be like 12 deep and they're all together and hanging out off the court. Like that's the type of chemistry I think you see championship teams have is they all get along with each other, whether they're playing basketball or whether they're going out to eat or bars or whatever kind of setting it is. So, got to give JB Bickerstaff a huge shout out for just kind of enabling and instilling culture that this organization really hasn't had in just his short amount of time. I think he's done so much, not only for this fan base, but for the organization from top to bottom. So, I want to go over to this next segment, and it's Asar Thompson. Now, this was a Nike commercial, but Asar did get like a 4-second cameo. Now, obviously, again, I cannot play the video because it does belong to Nike, but he's talking to Steve Nash, and Asar kind of like whips his board around, which I think is A+ marketing from Nike. And he said, yo, Asar, like, watch the boards. He's like, come on, Steve. I always do. And Asar has got a wooden board in his hand. And Steve's kind of, referring him to not hitting him in the head with this boards. But, boards and basketball is rebounds. I love to see Asar get some FaceTime in Nike. He's got the little hard hat with number 9 on it. So, I mean, really cool to see Asar just kind of get like more screen time. We saw the Slam magazine cover, which was really cool. If you guys haven't seen that, they got t-shirts and merch available if you guys want to purchase those. There was like an 8-minute interview with him and his brother in the Slam magazine interview, sit down with both of them. But Asar's been getting a lot of screen time. I mean, Cade's been getting a lot of stuff. He I believe he was on the late night show or something like that this summer. He's been in a couple Slam magazine covers as well. I think, the better the Detroit Pistons do, you're going to start seeing more commercials. I honestly think like Cade as a State Farm commercial, I think it would be A+ marketing because Cade's a really funny dude. And I'm really advocating for it. So State Farm, if you're listening, got to get Cade on the couch or just do the commercials because I think it would just be A+ comedy. So we're going to end the podcast, you guys, with some transactional news by the Detroit Pistons. So Keith Smith of Spot Track has reported that the Pistons have waived Ron Harper from his 2-way contract. Now, Ron Harper Jr. was a late season addition by the Pistons on a 2-way deal, a 2-way contract, if you will. And he spent 99.9% of his time with the Motor City Cruise. He was a main focal point with them on a 2-way deal. Now, we just saw the other day, I think it was yesterday, we talked about Colby Jones. He just signed a new 2-way. Now, what could that possibly mean for a Adonis Jenkins and a Tolu Smith? Because you're allowed to carry up to 3 2-way contracts on your roster. Now, what could possibly happen, and I'm not reporting anything, you guys, but this is what could happen. It's this time of year. A lot of these teams are waiving their two-way contracts and signing brand new ones. What could happen is the Pistons could possibly waive Donis Jenkins and Tolu Smith and sign brand new guys. Here's my thing. I've told you guys before, I think Donis Jenkins is good enough to be a standard contract type player, whether it's on the Detroit Pistons or any other NBA team. I think he's developed quite nicely this past year in the Motor City Cruise, being their lead point guard, their starting point guard. If the Pistons feel like he's worthy of a standard contract, I'm sure Trajan Langdon and the front office will sign him to a standard contract. They have roster spots available if they want to do that. He could be a, break the glass emergency type of, point guard you're looking at. They don't really have a backup point guard on this roster right now. I'd assume that most of the reps are going to be going to Jaden Ivey, and the rest of the reps could be going to Karis LeVert in some short spurts. But I mean, if you feel that Donis Jenkins is worth signing, I'm sure the Pistons will do it. But um, Pistons could also just give Donis a brand new two-way, and he could be on the cruise again this year. But don't be surprised if we see news or reports come out that the Pistons have 3 new two-way guys. It's very common this time of year. As for Tolu Smith, he's also a two-way guy. Now, the Pistons situation at center, they have a lot of depth. From Jalen Duren to Isaiah Stewart to Paul Reed. I really like Tolu Smith. Very young guy. I think he's 23, I believe. He's developed quite a bit. I don't really know if there's room for him on this team. I don't think the Detroit Pistons want to carry 4 centers on this roster unless you think you can convert Stu to backup power forward to back up Tobias Harris, and then you could kind of have Tolu Smith as a third string center. But I think right now where Stu is at, he's most likely going to be playing backup center, backing up Jalen Duren this season, and he did a hell of a job. In my personal opinion, I think that's the right role for him, is being a backup center for this basketball team. But again, you guys, don't be surprised if you do see more news that the Pistons have waived possibly Donis Jenkins or Tolu Smith. It's just this time of year. Every NBA team is doing it, signing new two-way guys, waiving their guys, and just kind of save money that way. But did want to wrap up the podcast. Don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. So the episode's like around 18, 19 minutes today. But let me know what you guys think of the NBA Power Rankings, the Pistons being in the top 10 in offseason power ranking. Duncan Robinson in his comments about the Detroit Pistons. Asar Thompson in his Nike commercial, little 4-second cameo. And the Pistons waiving Ron Harper Jr. I will talk to you guys in the comment section. Like always, hope you guys are staying safe. Take care. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.